Notre Dame football is just one win away from a berth in the first ever 12-team college football playoffs. We're going to talk about USC all week, but there's one other game Notre Dame fans should have close eyes on this weekend in their quest to the 5th seed in the playoff that is still very much on the table. And I'm going to say something here that I never thought I would say on this show or anywhere else. Go Michigan. Ryan Roberts, A to Z Sports. We're going to bring you everything you all need to know about the USC Trojans as Notre Dame ends the regular season, hopeful for a victory, an 11-1 record, which would cement their place in the 12-team college football playoffs. Obviously, the whole conversation here, folks, is going to be rivalry week, and for big reason. Because if I asked you who are the two biggest rivals on Notre Dame's in Notre Dame's history and on Notre Dame's schedule on a pretty much year-to-year basis, USC, the Trojans, which they're playing this week. And then Michigan, although they haven't played Michigan in a couple years, they are still a team that Notre Dame has distaste and hatred in their hearts for. Notre Dame has a chance to defeat a struggling rival this week in USC and cement their place in the playoffs. But also, in a weird turn of events, we kind of need to throw the rivalry out for a minute with Michigan, and we need to hope for them to get a big victory this weekend. And why is that? And I hate that I'm even going to have to say this, because if you ask me who I dislike more, USC or Michigan, my answer would be the Wolverines. I cannot stand that team up north. But they are playing in a big game against Ohio State this weekend. Ohio State is one of the big roadblocks for Notre Dame right now to potentially get that 5th seed in the college football playoff, the highest ranked non-conference winner. Notre Dame has to somehow jump one of these Big Ten schools. And where we are right now is if Ohio State wins against Michigan, they're going to have a rematch against Oregon. And if Ohio State does beat Oregon in that rematch, Oregon is not going to move back that far. That would be their first loss of the season. They would still be in front of Notre Dame. The chaos that Notre Dame really needs is if there is somehow Michigan can upset Ohio State, and it's a long shot. It's probably not going to happen. Ohio State is favored by 20.5 points at home for obvious reasons. But if Michigan somehow did defeat Ohio State, and they've won their last 3 meetings in this series, obviously, and Sharon Moore, was the head coach for the team last year, actually, in this game, they have maybe a mental advantage. At least, is there really anybody on this Ohio State roster that even remembers beating Michigan? Like, it's been quite a few years now at this point. But if in this hypothetical world, that's unlikely. But if Michigan defeats Ohio State, that is the best case scenario for Notre Dame. Because what happens now? Michigan sits at 10-2 if they lose to Michigan. And Notre Dame has a great argument. And I think they would I think it would be a no-brainer that if Notre Dame beats USC and beats them handily and Ohio State loses even a close game to Michigan, Notre Dame has a great argument to be in front of Ohio State at that point. I think Ohio State would have a little bit of a drop there, and Notre Dame would continue their ascension forward. And more importantly, if Ohio State loses to Michigan and Notre Dame is able to jump them, Ohio State does not have a place in the Big Ten championship game. That would go to Penn State. So they don't have a resume building process down the stretch. Because let's say Ohio State loses, but then beats number 1 Oregon in the Big Ten championship game. Well, that's a recovery. That's where they vault again over Notre Dame. But if they lose this weekend, they are not going to have that last resume boost of the Big Ten championship. They are going to be 10-2. They're still going to make the field, obviously. They're still going to be a big contender in the playoffs. But that is where we could see potentially Notre Dame getting that 5th seed, which is so valuable. Obviously, you get the home field advantage, but when you really look at just kind of the brackets, I mean, the last week's bracket, it was like were going to play BYU and then Boise State was going to be the first 2 games for the 5th seed. Now, that's obviously going to change with BYU losing, and things are going to continue to move around, but that is the path that you want. So let's hope Notre Dame, first and foremost, beats USC this weekend. But guys, as much as it hurts me to say again, much as it hurts, gotta root for Michigan this weekend. And after this weekend, we will never root for them, hopefully again, but need Ohio State to go down to strengthen the resume and to get Notre Dame potentially in that 5th seed. We're going to break it down the rest of the week. A to Z Sports, breaking down everything you need to know for this Notre Dame matchup when they go out and face the University of Southern California Trojans. Make sure to stay locked in, folks, and you know the deal. As always, same thing every single week. Go Irish.